What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Chromecast. My name's Joe, joined here today by Roberto.
What's up?
Robbie. That's Robbie's voice.
Roberto Robbie.
That's him.
Roberto's my actual first name.
Right.
Robbie's my middle name. Yeah. It's true.
Why did
my parents name me that?
Why did your parents do that?
I don't know. Roberto Robbie.
You're Roberto Robbie Payne. So
great name.
For
those wondering, my name's actually Robert Nathaniel Payne.
Yeah,
that's my given name.
I like Nathaniel as a middle name. That's cool.
It's a good middle name. I didn't like it when I was younger for some reason, but I've grown into it.
As we both take a sip of our beverages that are not sponsoring us.
Just kidding.
If you'd like to do that,
anybody from Coke listening, we love Coke Zero.
If you'd like to do that, we would gladly take your money. Sure. We do love Coke Zero. It's great. It's good stuff. Okay, let's dig into some news from the week.
You just jarred all our listeners.
I know.
Like, wait, you're not going to
You're not gonna
derail
You're not
immediately.
Gonna sit and talk about random stuff for 5 minutes.
Wait
We're diving
second.
right in. We just talked about podcasts that are really long. And we're trying to do the opposite. we're trying to just cut right
to get
the
out
chase
in like 35 minutes,
right.
Which never happens.
Never happens, but we're going to try. So we have some cool news that is a little specific to some of our listeners, but we still wanted to talk about it because it's cool stuff, and we're doing a giveaway with these folks. So the kind folks over at Cameyo have partnered up with Google and LG to do a freaking awesome enterprise giveaway. We're giving away 10 LG devices, 10 enterprise upgrades, 10 Cameyo licenses.
Yeah.
And this is a giveaway that's for anybody that works for a company. If you have a company email address,
all right, you don't have to
eligible.
Own it. You don't even have to be a manager.
You could be the one that gets this and gets the attaboy, attagirl.
Right.
We don't care as long as you're going to put them to use. We just want to make sure that you're actually going to use them. If you have no use for this stuff, then obviously don't go enter to win. Because we are going to need to verify, especially with this one. We did this with our education giveaway that we did with Logitech, but especially with this one, we're going to reach out to you and kind of confirm your eligibility,
right?
Whoever we pick as the winner. So it's just a cool giveaway. Shout out to Cameyo for partnering with us on this one. Go click the link in the show notes, get entered to win.
And I will say, like the LG devices are pretty compelling. It's a quote unquote all in one. It's basically a Chromebox slapped on the back of an LG ultra wide curved monitor. It's the same one I used to have. It's just the 1080p instead of the 1440 version of that. But it's a great monitor, great clarity, brightness, all that stuff. And then you're getting a Chrome. Well, it's like a thin client box basically, but they flashed ChromeOS Flex on all of them. So you got ChromeOS, really great screen. I don't remember the specs on the box, but they were decent enough. Like there's a Celeron processor or something like that, but it's going to be good for workstations and stuff like that. But hooked to a really sweet monitor, which is really cool. And so all those licenses and stuff kind of coming together. It's a sweet giveaway. Like
obviously, if you work for a company, you're eligible, but if you're a business owner, especially you,
sure.
This one's for you all. So if you think you could use this stuff, if you've been maybe thinking about getting into ChromeOS,
or if you know somebody who you're like, hey, they might be able to use it. Like
small, this could be for small businesses. This doesn't have to be for big businesses. This could be for a small to even medium-sized business who's thinking about getting into ChromeOS, has thought about making that transition. Maybe you have some Windows apps or some legacy apps that you still need for your operation.
Well, good news.
You've got Cameyo.
And you don't have to pay for it either. Like, it's all free, which is really dope. So, a lot of times we give away hardware, and this time it's like there's hardware, but then there's all the services that are coming along with it. So your Google admin stuff's handled. Your legacy apps can be all handled by Cameyo. It's a sweet giveaway if you're even remotely interested in this stuff. So over on the website, we have a banner right at the top. So at chromeandbox.com, you can just click that. It'll take you right to it.
Yeah, we'll link it down in the show notes as well.
Yeah, for sure.
But also this week, Cameyo had a huge announcement.
Yeah, pretty big
so
deal.
you wrote about it. What did they announce? What are we talking about here?
It's the official. I don't want to say just. It is the kind of official unveiling of their partnership with the ChromeOS team, with ChromeOS as an operating system. So Cameyo's been around for a few years at this point. They've kind of been honing their process. And the general idea, if you're listening to this and you haven't heard us talk about Cameyo in the past, like their idea is this virtual app delivery system. So you have virtual desktops. I mean, heck, there's ChromeOS or Chrome virtual desktop, remote desktop, where you can remote into a machine. So you could have multiple Windows machines set up that Chromebook users could easily remote into and use. But that brings up the whole desktop interface. So you deal with all of Windows and all of its good and bad. You got to deal with that while you use the app. And it's fine functionally, but it's a lot of extra steps to get to your application. There's not a whole lot of management on the Windows side of things. Like you can manage all this fleet of Chromebooks, but you can't manage the Windows thing in the same kind of environment. So Cameyo cuts out most of the extra stuff. So Cameyo serves Windows on their servers, and then the admin basically could go in and say, okay, I need these 3 apps, or 5 apps, or 10 apps, or 15, whatever you want. You install those apps, and you can, if they're not installable via standard modes of operation, if you have a particular executable that runs for some factory that controls robots or something, you can get that executable file, make sure and just send it to yourself and upload it to Cameyo servers, run the install on that instance, and then once it's done, Cameyo can deliver just that application without, all the Windows stuff's running obviously underneath of it, but it doesn't surface any of that stuff to you. Just surface that one application at a particular URL that's custom to that instance of that app, and then from the Google admin console, they can go add a URL, add a PWA via URL. You take the URL that Cameyo gave you, plop it in there, push it to all the people, and so now your entire fleet of people have access to that Windows application running in a virtual space, but it's showing up on the Chromebook like an app. And so they click it opens in its own window, it's its own thing. You're not dealing with all of the other stuff. And then copy paste works, local printing, all that kind of stuff. They figured out how to route all that stuff through ChromeOS so that you don't have to worry about those things. So it really has a kind of a native feel to it, and then just gives you as a business the ability to kind of make that final step when we could do Chromebooks, but we need XYZ app. When that's the problem, Cameyo is the solution for that. And it was already well done before. It's not like this changes. Like now Cameyo's really good. Like Cameyo was awesome. It's just now really baked into the admin console for ChromeOS, and it just makes this virtual app delivery super simple for admins, but also super secure. So it's sandboxed. It's got all the same security standards that ChromeOS deeply cares about. And it gives you an ability to basically deliver Windows applications, it's not just whatever Windows application you need to your local device, and still have access to all the local hardware and peripheral stuff. Copy paste, all that kind of stuff works in these. I was testing it earlier. I just opened up Notepad in Cameyo and was copy pasting stuff in and out of it. And I'm and I didn't have to do anything extra to do it. I didn't have to hit any extra buttons or click any extra things. It just worked. And so that partnership now means that ChromeOS just has this baked in. You don't have to sign up and then attach Cameyo to your admin console and stuff. It's there. So when you pay for your license, you just use it. And so this is basically, Cameyo's still their own company, obviously, but this is the ChromeOS team's way to deliver virtual Windows applications, and I can't think of a better way for them to do it. So it answers a lot for enterprise customers. Now, it's not for consumers. Is it scrolling? Yeah. It's not for consumers, but at the same time, it's I don't know. It's one of those steps that I'm I get this is an enterprise focused thing, and it's available now. When they announced this on Tuesday, it was available. And I know that a lot of people listening to this are going, well, that's neat, but I'm never going to get to play with that. Well, for right now, no, you're not. I mean, unless you want to go get an admin, and pay for all that kind of stuff and then use it, you could spin up your own admin console and your own URL and do all this. It's a lot of work, but potentially you could do that. But they haven't ruled out the delivery of this to standard consumers down the road. Right now, they're not. That's just not on the roadmap. Like, that's not a thing. But when I asked them about it, they weren't like, "No, we'll never do that." So now that the ChromeOS team is kind of deeply, embedded with this, like they're really thinking about this as an option. Who knows? I could see a situation down the road where this partnership opens up a little bit and they figure out some creative ways to, allow, a consumer Cameyo account, and you pay for, I don't know, a single license or something, and you get your instance and you can put your Windows apps on there and use them here. And again, it's no knock to like Parallels or something like that, or Citrix or any of these other virtual type app delivery systems. Those things all probably still have their place, but I think for the majority of people, it's usually one or two apps they need. They just need that little bit of stuff. And so Cameyo just kind of takes care of that really, really concisely and just so neat. It's just a neat package that just delivers what needs to be delivered, and it's done. So, kudos to them for building an awesome product, for getting a partnership with Google, and kudos to Google for seeing the need for value, it and investing.
And we've seen stuff like this happen before with something like gaming, where instead of Google saying, "Hey, here's this thing we want to do, we're going to spend 5 years building it,"
right?
There's somebody out there already doing it, basically, and we can integrate it into ChromeOS.
Right.
Like, Steam is still its own thing. Google didn't go buy Steam, right?
But they're just a deep partnership.
It's just deeply integrated, and that's kind of what we've got here. And for enterprise folks out there, like, this is, we've always said, like, people don't care where their apps are coming from, especially your employees. Like, I'm thinking of just folks, out in the field who just click the button. The thing opens and they do their job. Like, they have this one little kiosk maybe thing they need, or front desk type stuff, or there's just so many applications here where people are just clicking in and doing their job. Like, it's a utility type thing. They don't care that it's running.
In those circumstances, when you have to deploy a bunch of devices and you're dealing with Windows and all the security vulnerabilities that exist there, and it's, again, I'm not trying to like knock on Windows. Like, Windows is valuable for a lot of things, but that value lies in the fact that it's so versatile, and that versatility means that it's very insecure by nature. And so being able to kind of cherry pick the little parts of Windows you need to put into the ChromeOS environment and maintain that security where there's just no vulnerabilities. And there's this. I
was going to say, what was the one example
that they were actually in? Let me see what the name is here. I put one of their Sanmina. So this quote right here. Deploying apps with ChromeOS and Cameyo, simple session management, blah, blah, blah. It's all handled by Cameyo, so we had to focus on the apps we wanted to publish. It was very easy to get set up, ongoing. Stuff's a breeze, especially when compared to traditional virtual desktop approaches. And that is true. Like, there's this cost-saving measure that goes here because the licensing for all this stuff is cheaper. The deployment of it's easier. It's simpler because you don't have to deal with Windows. You're just having to deal with just a couple apps you need and deploy them, and okay, I'm done. Job's done. There's a whole video actually on, I think it's on the, I'm trying to remember where I saw that. ChromeOS developer page, maybe? I don't know. But Sanmina they kind of did a case study on Sanmina. Fortune 500 company, big. They've deployed over the last 10 years, 10,000 ChromeOS devices. Their entire enterprise is run with ChromeOS, from kiosks to stuff on the floor to salespeople to whatever. They all run ChromeOS. So obviously they're probably taking mass advantage of Cameyo or stuff like Cameyo. And it seems like they're kind of all on board with Cameyo now. But all that time, 10 years, 10,000 devices, zero security issues. Like, not one time has something happened to where we had a breakdown and security got out. And so I'm like, when you start thinking about that, the cost savings, the ease of deployment, it's unfortunate for, when you talk about like IT management teams, like this stuff comes in and it's like, I don't know if we need all these people.
Your job of fixing vulnerabilities all day, every day. But that's not a good, that's not a good use of people's time. Like,
hopefully,
in theory, those people should be working on more, hey, hopefully they will hopefully now have a new role that is more creative and allows them to do cooler things instead of just fixing broken stuff in Windows.
From a cost saving standpoint, I mean, this from Cameyo, let's see. Energy or Enterprise Strategy Group brings light to the financial benefits. Organizations that transition to VAD via ChromeOS and Cameyo, 54% reduction in total cost of ownership, 82% savings in hardware, 75% savings in licensing fees, 53% decline in operational costs. And so I'm like, wow, those are big numbers when you're talking about Fortune 500 companies that are dealing with just massive scale. Like, that's a lot of money. And so you can't blame them for wanting to do that. Like, and so it's a really awesome delivery system. It's a great mechanism. It's a cool thing for ChromeOS to now have kind of in its pocket. And I think, like, there were these kind of watershed moments when ChromeOS was moving into education. Mm-hmm. This is one of those for ChromeOS and Enterprise, because I guarantee you, even though Enterprise is kind of blowing up with Chromebooks and ChromeOS, I guarantee you there's tons of them that have been but that's great, but what are we going to do with our XYZ? Yeah, because you've got this legacy piece of software that's been
stuff like
and I think about manufacturing
app,
like these programs that are written for robots and stuff that build things and manufacturing plants and stuff like that can't transition. All of a sudden they can, and then they deploy all these devices and they don't have to think about them as much anymore. And so, like, at scale, the amount of money that this kind of move saves is pretty massive. So it's a cool thing. It's a cool story. And again, I know those of you listening, look at it this way. Though it's not something that you might go, hey, I'm going to go get that and use it, like most of the things that we talk about. This is one of those things you can go, hey, if you're a ChromeOS fan, a Chromebook fan, a Google fan, and like this kind of stuff, it's just cool to see it happening. Like, it's cool to see it available. Like, wow, they're thinking about and doing those kind of things. Because guess what? The more education Chromebooks and people using Chromebooks there, the more enterprise Chromebooks and people using Chromebooks there we get in the consumer market, that just continues to validate the need for these devices. And so our manufacturers are more incentivized to go, okay, this person is growing up using Chromebooks. They're going to go in the workforce, and there's a good chance now that they're going to start using Chromebooks there. Well, guess what? When they come home, if they're just like, I don't really want to learn how to use another operating system, I'm really comfortable with ChromeOS, and there's like 7 or 8 really attractive looking devices here, that market all of a sudden becomes saturated with people that want to go in and buy a Chromebook specifically. And they're not going to look for a laptop anymore and having to be told, hey, what about this Chromebook? It's like they already know about the Chromebooks from work or from school or from both. And so now the consumer market can be the final place where some of that overflow starts to fill up. And so it will affect, these types of moves will affect those of you listening that are going, well, this doesn't affect me. We don't use Chromebooks at work, or I don't get to make those choices at work or whatever. It's like, I'll never get to use this. Maybe not, but it's a big deal for ChromeOS as a whole. So
100%.
Very cool stuff.
Yeah, and we've always, we just love seeing ChromeOS mature and expand. Right. And like you said, there were certain things that happened in the EDU space over the last really 5 years or so, where we're like, oh man, awesome, like cool to see so many kids growing up with ChromeOS. This is kind of that next push, I feel like, for the enterprise and making it easier for companies to adopt ChromeOS.
It will change things drastically. Cool. It'll be cool. I think hopefully Cameyo or Google, or maybe both of them, will have some numbers a year or two from now to look back at this moment and to see, like, here's how this changed adoption for big companies.
Here's how much money it saved them. All of those things. That'll be cool.
I imagine they're going to track that stuff.
I would hope so.
Be good stats for them to have, obviously.
If not, you should get on that. Let's talk about. I just remembered that we have a call at 2 o'clock. Anywho, let's talk about
too many irons in the fire.
I know. Baby. Let's talk about Lacros and Chrome decoupling. We'll talk about that, and then we'll kind of take a little break, and we'll come back. But I think we can fit in
we
Lacros discussion. So you've been tinkering with it. You wrote an article today.
Yeah.
We think it's coming very soon. We're a little delayed on the 1.16 release, so we're wondering if maybe
2 days
it's
behind. So maybe
in there.
they're trying to make sure that those bits and pieces are there. So there's a couple pieces to this. So 1.16 should have like most of the bits and pieces in place for a true beta testing of Lacros. So at this point right now, what I wrote this morning is that, hey, you can go through and you can see on here, it's 2 steps. You can go through 2 steps and you can start using Lacros right now. It's not that difficult. We kind of walk you through what it is and why it's important. But ultimately, like if 1.16, we've talked about that, I think, on the podcast, where the pieces will be in place, hopefully, for some actual testing. Because what we're doing here with flags and there not being any kind of follow-up to it is like, well, I don't know. This isn't really beta testing. This is people that are going out of their way to do this. And so you've got 1.16 coming with the pieces in place. And then also there's the part of this where people are going, okay, what is that again? Why is this important? So I feel the need constantly to be like, okay, I know most people that come across this article don't know what Lacros, or they forgot about what it was or something. Lacros is just short for Linux and ChromeOS. ChromeOS is referred to as CROS a lot of times internally. And the idea being, in a nutshell, if we can split the Chrome browser, which is highly intertwined with Chrome OS at this point, if we can split that away from the OS and make it just an app, it's just Chrome, the browser, just like it is on Windows and Mac and Linux. It's just a browser. It's an app you can install or uninstall. You don't have to. Well, on a Chromebook, obviously, you're going to keep having to have it. Like, there's not going to be a choice to uninstall it. However, it will run on its own, detached from the rest of the OS. And so what that means is a couple things. One, we'll start to see those weekly Chrome OS or Chrome updates for the browser. They've just switched to that like last week or 2 weeks ago. So 1.16 introduced weekly updates for Chrome. We'll start getting those once Lacros is rolled out. We'll start getting those, which is nice. It's more secure. They don't have to worry about updating the entire OS in order to get that update. It's an app update, just like any other app. It can just update. But that also means those updates can continue once the AUE has been met on a Chromebook. So auto expiry date is still there. You're not going to get any more OS updates, no more new features, none of that stuff. But if you think from a security standpoint, where the vulnerabilities are on a Chromebook are always going to be with the browser. It's always going to be where you connect to the outside world. Lacros comes in. It 100% replaces Chrome on a Chromebook, meaning that all your PWAs, all that stuff, are going to run in Lacros windows now. Now, it's not going to be called Lacros when it launches.
It's just Chrome.
It's just Chrome.
Yeah.
That's just its code name. But, it'll take over all those things. And basically, it means that, AUE hits, they can keep updating Chrome. No different than if your Windows laptop stopped getting Windows updates. It didn't mean Chrome stopped getting updated. Now, eventually, software will say not compatible at this, with this version. Like if a huge OS change happens, but I would say it will extend the life of Chromebooks for years after the fact. So that's a good thing. And then just the updating in Chrome is an awesome thing. So I mean, those are good things to have. And plus, it gives us finally the profile switching that you would get on like Linux, Mac, Windows, all that kind of stuff. So Chrome has the entire browser has a thing where you can log into your profile, basically. So you can have a couple different profiles, which means you can separate your bookmarks, you can separate your passwords, you can separate all that stuff, and depending on the instance of Chrome you're using. Now, you can still log into Google services or whatever with both of those. It doesn't matter. But what's going to mean is that in the future, as people come over and go, well, I'm going to come from Windows and I'm going to give a Chromebook a try, and they start trying a Chromebook, well, when they approach Chrome, the whole logging in and syncing process with Chrome is going to feel exactly like it did on Windows, because it's going to be the exact same thing. Like, there won't be Chrome and then Chrome OS Chrome. Like, there's all these Chrome browsers and they get all these things, and we talk about all that stuff, and then there's Chrome OS Chrome that always has to kind of be behind and figuring out, like, it'll just be one of the groups of Chrome browsers, which is really cool. And so all of it got me thinking this morning. I was like, I'm curious what right now on 115, but while we're waiting on 116, what happens if I flip Lacrosse on? Problem is, you go to Chrome flags and start searching Lacrosse. Everything said Chrome flags gives you a description, tells you what operating systems it's going to work on. Well, Lacrosse is in all of them now because
There's a lot.
So it's just like all of these.
I pulled it up whenever I was setting up a new device.
So I was
2
sitting there
days
looking
ago.
like,
what is this?
And so I was scrolling, and I was like, okay, I'll just wait till I see it highlighted over in like the title of the flag, and finally found. So you turn it on, and then you can tell it to force it to be your primary. And then there's another flag you can force it to be the only browser. I wouldn't do that. Forcing it to be the primary kind of hides.
What are those flags? Do you have them in that article?
Yeah. So
for those watching on
they
YouTube,
are pretty straightforward. If you search lacrosse-support and then lacrosse-primary. One quick word, put it down here. If you do the primary, your main browser stuff kind of disappears. Like you don't see it, and it takes a minute when you restart to kind of get back to, like, it redoes all your PWAs for you that you have kind of like pinned and installed, because they're all running in a new browser now. So you kind of got to sign into some stuff, and it puts all those, but everything goes back to where it was. But if you want to turn it off, if you go to flags now in the Chrome browser, you go to the Chrome browser flags. That's not what you need. You need OS level flags. And so I was like, I don't know how to get back there. It's happened to go back to Michael's article he wrote about them splitting that a year ago or something. And you can go to OS://flags, and it'll pop up the OS level flags for you. So,
good to know.
Ostensibly,
you're not trapped.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, Power Wash will fix it, but still, I would think that down the road, part of this is they move the flags. I think Michael found. Let's see. Yeah, so it actually had it as a system web app. So hopefully, it'd be nice if they put that either in, like, hide it in the settings menu, maybe, or even put it in your app launcher. Experimental flags or something.
Yeah.
Because you need access to OS level flags still. Like, those will still be there. Like, they're still going to do flags for ChromeOS. There'll be flags that turn on this flag to see the new virtual desk, blah blah blah, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
So you'll still need to access those, or maybe they're just going to make sure you just have to hit OS:// Anyway, I'm glad that Michael put that in there because it saved my butt from having to do a
Power
full
wash.
So I was like, I can't write this and then be like, I don't know how to get out of it. Figure it out.
And when you want to go back, you just power wash your device.
It's all you're all in. So I did that first thing this morning. Drove Lacrosse all morning, and again, I don't want to put the cart before the horse. I don't know why my back gesture isn't working.
I was curious what you were doing over there and watching the preview. Just see you swiping away.
I'm just curious
I wonder
now.
if it's just because
I'll go not full screen. No, it's not working.
You broke it.
Oh, I opened it in a new window. I didn't mean to do that. I didn't think I did that. Anyway, sorry, got sidetracked. 2-finger swipe left and right goes back. Normally, I just didn't do that because I didn't have anywhere to go back to.
There was no back. There was no back.
Shall I prove it to you? See it? No, that's not. It's not. Is it casting that one?
Yeah. There we go.
Am I casting? Okay. So see, let me go forward.
There you
see
go.
See that little thing? See it? Woo, 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 woo. That's what I was trying for. It was not working because there was nowhere to go. But I lost where I was. Oh, so I used it all morning this morning. I have not tried Lacrosse for, I don't know, it's probably been 3 months since I messed with it. And it was real short. I was trying to check something. And then before that, like trying to use it was a few months even before that. And there were still problems with it. Some UI stuff was weird looking. And now, unless I look up and see my little profile face up there on the right side of the Chrome, Omnibox, can't tell that I'm using something else. Like they've cleaned it up that much. Like everything just works. I haven't run into anything yet that doesn't work. Now I did come across one website today. I was looking at possibly booking some golf for next week when the weather breaks, and the background video for that golf course wasn't working. It was an MOV. So I'll just pull it up here. I'll just pull it up right here and see.
Check it out. If you're watching on YouTube.
Park Mammoth Golf Club. So if it dies here, oh no, okay. This Chromebook is unstable, so
that's.
I might need to reach out to them and be like, hey, You
Your
want me to help you?
video isn't working.
It was working the other day.
Can we have some free rounds of golf?
I will fix that. It might take me a long time. It won't.
It's gonna
take me a while.
It's gonna take me 2 days of work.
Yeah, if I do that, can I have 3 rounds,
Yeah.
4 or 5 rounds of golf?
I
6.
think that's totally fair. I think that's totally fair.
It's an amazing golf course. Like I love the golf course so much. I'd probably just fix it for free. Really, really excited to go back there, but I don't want to side or derail here. But yeah, using it today, like I just blown away. Like even the web apps and stuff, all my PWAs opening up. Like I had to I couldn't remember. Oh, because I was signed out of everything. That's the only way I knew this is a rebuilt PWA from Lacros and not using, because I was like, it's just gonna open those back up in the old browser. But made me sign into all of them. I had to redo the whole thing with WhatsApp. Like it was like a new browser, and so. Some of my 2FA stuff is like, remember this browser and stuff. So it was all across. And I'm telling you, aside from the profile being up there in the top, I wouldn't know. Yeah. And as a person who's used Chromebooks exclusively for the better part of a decade now, I would know immediately. Like if they changed something, like if it wasn't quite right, like something's like that's weird. That feels weird. Nothing feels weird.
Yeah.
It feels exactly the same way. Now, I'm not saying there won't be some bugs here and there, but that's what I'm hoping for 1.16. I hope 1.16 gives the ability for something like Borealis, where it will prompt people to say, hey, we have this new version. Would you like to try it? And then click the button. It'll restart Chrome and kind of give them some prompts to tell them what they're doing and why they're doing it. And then a clear way to give feedback. That kind of beta program needs to happen for this, because this has to work.
Yeah.
Like it has to work across the board.
And we talked about this maybe last week or week before. Like
slow rollout.
Yeah, it's a slow rollout. And if you think about it, like ChromeOS was just Chrome for the longest time, right? So much of the OS is tangled in this. And so it's going to take them some time. But like you said, because of so much of what you do on a Chromebook is opening up the browser and getting things done on the web. Right. If that doesn't work, you would be. Yeah,
even though they're going to detach it, like it's still so fundamental to Chrome OS. It's, and I don't want anybody to take away like, they're decoupling it, so Chrome's not that important. Like I've already had some people ask, what does that mean? We'll just be able to install new other browsers on it? I'm like, no, probably not, because this is a very specialized binary of the Linux version of Chrome. They're not going to spend that time to build the same thing for Edge or Opera or something like that. So
Firefox, we get people asking us about Firefox.
Now you can go install it in Linux, and I mean it may or may not work. Whatever you may have to work through.
Little tutorials on doing.
And there's the Android versions, which says they're mobile, so I get it, but. Yeah, if you're buying a Chromebook, you need to kind of realize like you're kind of tied to Chrome.
You're using Chrome.
They're decoupling it, but
it's kind of part of it.
Yeah,
it's kind of in the name.
Yeah, it's very, very, very necessary.
It's kind of part of it.
Yeah, but I don't know how they would deliver any of those other ones without the ChromeOS team doing so, and they're obviously not going to do that.
Exactly. So
it's still cool, exciting.
Yeah,
and I'm going to drive it for a little while, just see.
And hopefully, when 1.16 fully rolls out, we'll maybe see a little
more hand holding.
Maybe there is some of that kind of UI driving people or letting people test or giving feedback, that sort of stuff. So we'll know more soon. But like I said, we have a quick call we're going to hop on. So we're just going to take a quick break here, and we will be right back. We're going to talk about 7.14, I think.
Yeah,
for sure. We'll definitely talk that.
Pre-review.
Got some cool stuff coming up. So hold tight. We'll be right back. Alrighty, welcome back, everyone. As promised, we got some other stuff to talk about. We hopped over, we knocked out a call.
Yep.
Rocking and rolling. Now we're
One
back
thing
at
after
it.
Another.
We're going to film some stuff after this. Productivity central over here.
Yep, never stops.
So, do you want to
need some coffee though?
Do you want to talk 7.14 first or wideband?
Let's talk ultra wideband first.
Okay. Ultra wideband. Do you like my intro there? Yeah.
What do you want to do?
That's it. Ultra wideband. Talk about it.
Go.
Ultra wideband.
What do you know about it?
Coming to Chrome OS. A new revolutionary type.
Life changing.
Now,
interestingly enough, I did get pinged from Kyle at 9 to 5 that he had briefly mentioned this, seeing it in what he felt was a discontinued Pixelbook. He wrote a piece about Google and Pixelbooks and them discontinuing them and stuff like that. And so I had skimmed that article. I had not read all of it because I kind of knew where he was coming from. And in it, one of the discontinued Pixelbooks or possible Pixelbooks had a couple notes of ultra wideband in the development part, and that was back the very end of the year, so late December.
You got the LaCroix burps.
I know, man. Sparkling water will get you. First one especially. The burp went in my nose. My eyes are watering a little bit.
It burns.
But yeah, so he had seen that at that point, and it's like, yeah, man, I honestly didn't read to that point in the article, but they're continuing work on this. And if you're not familiar with ultra wideband, the marketing around it can be a little bit deceiving, and I think part of that is why I've, prior to seeing this and kind of going, okay, I have to figure out what this is, like on a local level versus on a cell tower level, like what's the difference? And the truth is there's not that much difference. It's just the way it's being leveraged, marketed, and used. So ultra wideband consists of like millimeter wave type stuff. So it means it's really, really high frequency waves, way, way higher frequency, still radio type signal. Mm-hmm. It's way higher frequency than what current Wi-Fi or cellular towers or anything like that use. And it gets, you can dig into the technology if you're really that interested in how it works. But it's different in that you kind of need line of sight. Like, it's so high frequency, it just doesn't penetrate walls and stuff like that. And so a lot of people have heard of millimeter wave because Verizon's been pushing it as part of their 5G. And I say part of their 5G because that's not their entire 5G, nor is it everybody else's 5th generation wireless network. It's a small part. It's a different way to use a different type of bandwidth to deliver fast data, and it's super fast. Like, if you've ever seen anybody that actually gets hooked up to ultra wideband millimeter wave 5G, I mean, I remember Marquez did a thing, it's multiple gigs down and up. It's super duper fast, but he also could turn around and like his body blocks the signal,
or the tree,
or you get behind a tree and it's done. Like, it's not just like it slows it down, like totally loses signal. And a lot of YouTubers have done some of this stuff. And so the interesting thing with ultra wideband is, generally speaking, when you talk about wireless spectrum, the higher the frequency, the higher the headroom, basically, in that spectrum. So the more frequency you have, the higher capacity for people to be using it is. But the problem is, the higher that frequency goes, the less it can penetrate. Mm-hmm. So you can't have both. And so what we've seen, Sprint did this back when I worked with Sprint. It was like revolutionary. They had three main spectrums. I think they were at 900, 1700, and then 2500. So if you want to get nerdy, you can go back and look at WiMAX. That was their first 4G. They were like, nah, we're not doing LTE like everybody else. We're going to do WiMAX. It failed miserably, obviously. That's why nobody knows what WiMAX is. But, WiMAX was 2500 gigahertz, I think is the speed there, frequency, there. And so, everybody else is deploying LTE on like 900 spectrum. And so at that high of a spectrum, like, you literally walk indoors and you lose the signal. And so they had to kind of scramble and figure out, okay, we got to tell our phones to be smart enough to go, hey, grab 2500 when you can. And when you can't, go to 1900 or whatever that middle one was, or 17. I don't remember now. And then if you can't get anything else, go to the lower spectrum. So the one that can penetrate deeper into the building. Well, the problem with that is obviously the bandwidth capacity is very low. So the number of people that can use that without your speed degrading is very low. So you don't want people out on the street that could get WiMAX to be hooking to the 900 megahertz spectrum or whatever. I don't remember what they own. So if I'm saying the wrong ones, I'm sorry. I forget. But 6, 7, 8, 9 are kind of your lower low band. So you hear that a lot too, low band 5G. And so you got these wide spectrums. Sprint phones could use all three. I remember it being a big selling point and like telling people like, wow, this phone can automatically switch. Well, everybody does that now. That's across the board. Everyone does that. these phones are smart enough to kind of pick the right spectrum and use it when needed. And so the idea, I say all that, the idea behind millimeter wave ultra wideband for Verizon and anyone else who chooses to maybe try this, because it's not been good, is to put so many of those little nodes that put out 5G in that particular capacity that no matter which way you turn, one of them's hitting you. They're
Fake trees with
you.
5G.
Yeah, I mean, when you'd have to. And the idea is, hey, in urban areas where it's highly populated and we have lots of buildings and structures to attach these to, they're everywhere. Yeah. And then as you get into suburban areas, and you should, when you're in a place where there's 30,000 people in a city, whatever, use the regular stuff. You don't need ultra wideband for that. I don't know how that's going for Verizon. I'm not a Verizon customer, but I've not yet seen a video where someone's like, finally, this, Boston has full-blown millimeter wave. It's still a mess because of the nature of ultra wideband. But you take that same technology and you bring it indoors in a controlled environment, and say you put a couple of those nodes up in your house, and your internet's feeding into something like that can immediately ping it. Again, it's got to be kind of basically line of sight. You put an ultra wideband receiver in the other room, it's not going to make it through the wall. So it's limited in its scope in that. But that's one way it could be used. But the other benefit to ultra wideband is A, it's very low power. B, it is very high bandwidth. And C, it can actually detect, because the higher frequencies, like radar, it has the ability to kind of ping and know where stuff is. This takes it to a different level. Like it's giving it enough. I think it's within a couple centimeters that it can detect the position, because it's bouncing so much frequency off. Like it's getting a really good reading. And I didn't know this until I researched this. Wi-Fi knows location too. Like Wi-Fi is got enough that it can tell general location of things, and not just like geolocation, like in the house. Like it's over there. I can tell that the device that I'm hooking to is over that in that direction. Millimeter wave takes that all to another level. So now you take this technology that can do that, you put it in devices, and instead of Bluetooth, I don't hook to my speaker with Bluetooth. I hook to it with millimeter wave. I hook to it with ultra wideband frequencies. Well, it's pretty new, so it's only a couple years old. We don't have a lot of devices with it, but think about things like AirTags. Those kind of like those types of applications where not only do you want to connect to it and be able to move stuff really quick, but knowing that where it is kind of would be really helpful. I think about like wireless surround sound speaker systems for houses, Sonos, like doing something where now the system, it could be like, hey, I know where you put the speakers and I know which way you aimed them. So I'm going to adjust the sound profile to fit what you did in this space. Like that's some cool stuff. But then even simpler things like my watch being able to unlock my Chromebook or my car, like ultra wideband in those kind of scenarios is way better, because it now knows positional awareness, has the bandwidth to move. Because I think Bluetooth LE only hits like 1.2 megs per second. This, ultra wideband, I think is capable of a gig, back and forth. And so you're talking like, I mean, you start thinking about the things like, oh, you could do this too. Oh, wow. You could have in our office, for instance, we could have a little array that has 100 gigs of storage or 1,000 gigs, terabyte of storage, just sitting over in the corner with an ultra wideband connectivity that the Mac or Chromebook could immediately access at gig read write speeds and never have any issue. Like I need to write something to that and send it to you or whatever. I need to edit off this. So you don't need cords anymore, because you're getting the types of speeds you would have with a corded thing. As long as you're in the room and you can see the thing, you can connect to it that way. Like there's a bunch of things all of a sudden it's like, that would be amazing. Think about app streaming on Chromebooks. So you've got, that hooks Bluetooth, and that's how it's doing app streaming right now, the Esh thing. Well, imagine if that switches to millimeter wave over time, or ultra wideband over time. And then your phone and your Chromebook both have ultra wideband. Now they can send that signal over that instead. Well, guess what? That mirror thing where you see your phone that looks fine, it's functional now, but it's a little choppy and stuff, is perfect. Like
smooth.
Completely
it works
smooth.
Just the same as using your phone.
Yeah, it might as well be baked right into your device.
Yeah.
Like, and you start thinking, like, it had me really geeked out, like, when I started thinking about it, because for whatever reason, like, I knew ultra wideband was like going to be a thing, and like accessories, I kind of sort of knew that, but then like Verizon's take on it just kind of wore me out a bit, and made me kind of think like, whatever, they're doing something with this, but like it doesn't even seem very functional right now. Scratch that. Like ultra wideband for Verizon works or doesn't work. I don't really care. At the end of the day, I don't care if that takes off or if they completely shut that down. I don't care. What it's going to do for localized devices. Think about AR glasses. I was thinking about this the other night. Like in Real and all these companies have AR glasses, right? Well, they have to be hooked to something, or if they're hooked with Bluetooth, like there's no way you're going to game on a device over Bluetooth, on a headset. It's just the bandwidth's just not there. Millimeter wave fixes that. That's fixed. Like I could keep my phone in my pocket and be pushing a millimeter wave signal to the glasses on my face that have all the bandwidth they need to put whatever. Like you don't have to put any of the functionality in the headset. It could do all of it, and it's low power. So, I mean, it would fix all those things. Like AR headsets, where you think like, oh, it's going to be all bulky and stuff. Like I think it'll change the way that those things work, and then how those work with a Chromebook, because how it's all going to play out, who knows? Like this is one of those fundamental technologies that's like, hey, we're going to put this out here and just let people go nuts with it and see what happens. And I'm glad to see Chromebooks getting it, because it will take a few years. Like I think, ultra wideband will take a while before we start to see the complete fruits of it, but it's an emerging technology that I'm glad Chromebooks will have as those things develop, because I can't imagine it'll be too long before we'll get earbuds, like wireless earbuds with ultra wideband support. Like you can connect to this with ultra wideband, and guess what that means? Full lossless audio. There's no degradation of sound. This is going to sound as good as the best corded audio experience you can get, because we can send every bit of bandwidth we need over this connection. Like it's going to be cool, like revolutionary cool from a gadget perspective. It's just hasn't caught on just yet because it's new. It's going to take some time.
The Bluetooth lobbyists are they're sweating right now.
You better start spending your money on ultra wideband.
They're sweating. Because I mean, really though, this is it's not like your Bluetooth devices. This is a new technology. It's not like your Bluetooth
different.
Devices are going to be retrofitted or anything like that.
No, and so
it will take time, right? Yeah. It's going to take a while, but yeah, imagine that scenario where we get to the office and you just sit your device down and you can connect everything,
all your displays and stuff.
Everything.
But you don't even need it. Like as long as there's a connector, like you might be able to get a retrofitted adapter for your display. That's HDMI over millimeter wave. Hook it into the back slot, and it's then just
that signal coming in via that HDMI is now just coming from this millimeter wave.
Well, we're thinking about home theater setups.
I was thinking home theater,
beam HDMI, 4K across the room,
casting stuff. Is now
mirroring your screen,
whole different thing. Yeah.
All of it. I mean, the CAST protocol. That's why it was ahead of its time. The CAST protocol being able to say for the device on the television, instead of going, I got to pull somehow wirelessly from this thing that somebody sent me, can now pull from its own. It can go connect to the web and pull it down itself. That's why it was revolutionary, because casting over Bluetooth or anything is terrible. I feel like millimeter wave is the delivery of what we were kind of promised with Wi-Fi Direct. Yes. Wi-Fi Direct just never made it, and I think there were just too many bugs and problems. There's still stuff that tries to do that a little bit. The idea with Wi-Fi Direct was that, hey, we'll keep your internet connection, but then your Wi-Fi can also go and directly connect to devices. No need for Bluetooth anymore. And I think it was too costly, too much power consumption involved, and I don't know that they could get the pieces small enough to go into earbuds and all the peripherals you need.
That was going to be my next question. Is like what sort of physical technology is required for this sort of stuff? Like, obviously they can get it into phones, so they'll be able to get it into most stuff.
Getting smaller, I don't know. I don't know how small. I haven't done that much research, and it might already be there. I don't know. Makes me want to stop and start searching for ultra wideband earbuds real quick.
Earbuds, watches, like all of that stuff is a great fit for all of this.
Well, it came up recently.
What will the symbol be?
Well, I found
symbol.
if you flip over, I put that on there. That's the closest thing I found to a kind of a ubiquitous symbol. Let me check real quick. Ultra wideband logo. See what comes
See if
up.
they've got something.
Yeah, so that popped up again. But I've seen the Ultra Wideband Alliance is that right there. So just like there's an alliance for everything else, like to kind of control the standard, there's an Ultra Wideband Alliance. So I know that'll be that, but I don't know that that'll be on products.
I like the one with the two. Go back to that. Go back to that one that had the two, like that you used on the site. Yeah.
Yeah, I
something
like that
that is interesting.
Yeah, but that was like on a car rental glossary, so I was like, I don't think that's actually a thing. Let's see that's the one I took and used. Don't know what that's from. So yeah, who knows? Like Wi-Fi's got their official thing, right? Like that one's kind of cool. I don't love the flat lines on it though. I don't know. It needs to have something. There needs to be.
Because like Bluetooth, everybody knows.
Right. You need to be able to look and see
Bluetooth
that that it supports that. And those things will come. I mean, these are new standards that need time. And the thing is, like, ultra wideband will be such a game-changing thing in consumer products that I don't think it'll take long. It's the chicken egg thing, though, right? Like, really, what you need is Apple to just do something with it.
They've got the closed ecosystem
everybody
to do that. I mean,
yeah,
it would be cool if they're like, hey, all of our stuff is now just like
they do have it on
connects.
iPhones. iPhone 413, I think, is the first one that had ultra wideband built in. So the phones have it. So they're clearly getting ready to do something with it. And I think AirTags might use it, but it's not open. Like nobody else could tap into it or something. Which, you know, with AirTags, they can be a little creepy. So I kind of get them kind of keeping that closed up. But ideally, yes, someone like Apple, Samsung, maybe,
Samsung
or both,
doing it would be cool.
putting out, you know, the phone and then a couple peripherals that work with it, and then like the peripherals need to come out, and then they need to have like the killer use case, like they have to, because if you just show up and have earbuds, for instance, I don't think that's going to sway a ton of people. Think general consumers, and they're just like, okay, whatever.
It's got to be like lossless audio now for the first time in wireless earbuds, maybe.
And I still think the people
or
will
even
be like
just seamless connection.
My
basically
closet dream with earbuds would be completely lag-free connection.
Yeah,
0 lag, like
it's
just like
the
wired
same
in,
as plugged
wired in. It's exactly, and there's no reason they wouldn't be. But again, that's a nerd thinking about that stuff versus a general consumer, and so it's like, what is that thing that makes it work? Printers would be a huge thing.
Sure.
HP makes an ultra wideband compatible printer. You have an ultra wideband thing, so now you don't need network printing. It just sees it and prints it. Printing would be a big one. I think the wireless display stuff is going to be huge. I think AR glasses and stuff will be huge. It's anything that you need to move data through. I'm not saying that like lossless audio, no lag earbuds aren't going to be awesome. Getting people to understand why that's so much better than what we have is going to be tough. And so you got to get them off the Bluetooth cycle, and figuring out like what's pairing look like with ultra wideband. Is it simple? Because it needs to be. However you do it, it needs to be super simple, because people hate pairing stuff with Bluetooth. Bluetooth, even though pairing is not that bad anymore, Bluetooth still has that hanging over it. Like, and that's probably never going to go away. People always think like, oh, I got to pair this thing. How do I get in pairing mode? No, they need to make that super simple. And then I think some of those, wireless speakers and that kind of stuff, all those compatibilities, I think, become some of the stuff that changes. I could see Apple 100% using ultra wideband between iPhones and Macs and iPads, to move. It's like AirDrop
Extreme.
Nitro,
Max.
AirDrop Pro.
AirDrop Max Pro.
Ultra
Max
Pro Max. Pro Ultra Max. Pro Ultra Max.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I did see a leak where they were using
Pro Ultra Max.
Pro Ultra Max.
No, not Pro Ultra. Pro Ultra Max.
Ultra Max.
Almost like Poltergeist. Pro Ultra Max.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, for sure. That's 100% happening.
Apple's new.
You heard it here first.
Apple's new pairing.
Yep.
Coming soon.
Pro Ultra Max.
Coming soon.
But seriously, if they were to roll that out and make sure that they say it's ultra wideband, and not call it like magic fairy dust, like they tend to do,
they would probably
it'll help ultra wideband.
Technology.
They probably will. They'll probably say it's their thing or something. I don't know. But underlying a lot of stuff, like it's going to be tough because Bluetooth Bluetooth gets used for so many things, and this is so far superior to Bluetooth. Like, it is. The only things that are different, and like where earbuds get a little strange, and some of this stuff gets a little strange, is that it's that line of sight thing. So if you're used to being able to kind of walk around into the next room and that kind of stuff and stay connected to that speaker you're Bluetooth to, that goes away. Like it won't make it through the wall. Like, it's not like, it'll probably be, no, it won't. It won't make it through the wall. So there's going to be limitations to this. Like, it's going to replace Bluetooth in multiple ways. It won't 100% replace Bluetooth. I don't think. I know for sure. It's not like I don't think. This is a no for sure. There's no way. There's certain things Bluetooth does that allow you a certain amount of freedom, and that it's fine for. Like, Bluetooth is still going to be fine for. What would be really cool is if one day, like, things merged where there becomes a standard that's a little bit of both. Like,
that would be interesting.
An instant fallback mechanism. So it's connected to both things through this new protocol that's a mix.
Simultaneously.
Yeah, and so I'll walk in the other room, and it's like, well, I got Bluetooth. Yeah, your audio quality might drop down a little bit until you walk back in the room. I don't know. I mean, that would be when ultra wideband becomes a fully embraced, ubiquitous thing, and it'll take a little while for sure. But the potential of this tech is super interesting.
Yeah. Well, this obviously, like, T-Mobile and Verizon are doing the 5G in home,
and I still don't think. I don't
that's
know
just
that T-Mobile's
pulling
doing.
in.
I don't know if T-Mobile's doing any millimeter wave.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
But do you think this will eventually be used for
Home, like
internet stuff?
It could. You would just have to. You'd have to get way more strategic with the way that you put your.
You'd almost have to have a pod in, like, every room, or some sort of receiver in every room.
But then it's not just that. Each of those receivers would have to see the other receiver. Like, there'd have to be a clear way for that receiver to hit this receiver for it to spread the signal. So it gets a little tough. It reminds me of the early days. And show my age here a little bit. Back when, internet was delivered around rural areas with, like, line of sight. Like, I don't even know what the heck that was. It was probably something similar, probably some sort of radio wave kind of thing. But in order to get it, you had to be within sight of this terminal thing and put a thing on the outside of your house that could see the thing.
What in the heck was the name of that? There was a company that I remember.
Kentucky Village Net around here was the one that did it.
There was a company that sold hardware to farms that was called Ubiquity.
Oh, okay.
And they had all the long range.
Yeah, it was probably low band radio.
You could put this receiver on the top of your grain silo, and you get Wi-Fi on your whole farm. Your big farm. I forget what the. It was probably the village, Kentucky Village Net.
Village Net. Yeah, they had a bulletin boards at BBS.
Wow,
those are early days. Like, that was so early in the internet that we would go to Walmart and look. They had the yellow pages for the internet. You'd look, like, find the stuff you want to find, and we'd jot down on our hand, like, stuff that because it's like a phone book. You'd find, like,
incredible.
There's a website called about this. Oh, www. And write it down. Okay, and then we'd go home and check. And we were at first not even sure. Like, we were going to these websites, these old websites, and looking at whatever game controllers, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Nobody really had much on the internet back then. And we were looking at these websites, and we were just convinced that we were, like, on the outskirts of the internet. We weren't really in the internet yet, because we just figured it would be something so much cooler. And, like, we didn't realize that's it. That's what this is. It's just interconnected, computers showing each other things. Like, we just that's neat, but
we got
to figure out how to get in.
The real internet's coming.
Yeah. Internet white pages, baby.
That's great.
Yeah,
Don't you wish you would have bought every domain you could think of at that time to have that sort of, like, foresight on that?
Yeah, like, as a futurist, I'm not very good. And I don't think most people are. Like, I can sit here and talk about ultra wideband, being cool in certain things, but, like, I don't have the ability to really see, like, how this thing,
or to be like, I'm going to make a product that does something with this.
Or I'm going to invest in this company that's doing, or whatever. Like, I don't see it that way. And so, like, being younger when that was happening, I was in 8th grade, 9th grade. Yeah, I just remember being, like, flabbergasted the first time and this wasn't even the internet. I mean, this was technically the internet, not the web. we were playing Doom 2 and, got online and the old school, getting online and typing in an IP address and connecting to a friend across town and playing Doom 2 and seeing them move on the screen. And we couldn't call them and be like, no way, dude, this is happening. Because you can't call. Back then it was on your phone line. But, we're able to see him moving and shoot at him and be like, oh my God, you're over there and we're here and we're doing it. Like, mind blown about that stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm of the generation that got to see. I lived with rotary phones and grew up with UHF and stuff like that. No remotes on the TV, but also fully entrenched in all this stuff too. So it's interesting to see this stuff kind of just like take shape and change over time. And I do really feel like ultra wideband is going to be one of those formative technologies that 10 years from now we'll be like, you remember when ultra wideband wasn't even a thing?
Yeah.
You remember when we hooked everything up with Bluetooth like a bunch of morons?
It was so slow.
What an idiot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the original question that spawned all that was like home internet and stuff. Like I don't know that I see that being a thing. Now it would be better, I guess, than Wi-Fi repeaters in the right context, but it'd have to be a lot more like strategic in order to do something like that. So yeah, I don't know. And that's where it's like, well, Wi-Fi is still going to serve its purpose. Like Wi-Fi is still going to keep moving.
Yeah.
Bluetooth is still going to serve its purpose. I just think both of those will get siloed a little bit more so that ultra wideband can come in and fill in these gaps where we would like Wi-Fi to be better. We would like networked devices to work a little better or faster. Ultra wideband is going to help do a lot of those things. And so I think it'll be a very useful addition and a huge swath of activities that we do that are wireless, and making some of the ones that we don't do that we got to plug stuff in for go, like that stuff could go away over time. And you think about it becoming ubiquitous like Bluetooth. I mean, microphones could do this. You could get rid of some of the frequency issues you got with those and just use ultra wideband. Yeah. As long as it's in the same room, kind of thing. And so
video switching. Awesome. Maybe we can get rid of all the HDMI cables
over time. I mean, it's going to take a lot of time. Yeah. And we'll go through the period of dongles. Like, here's just an HDMI ultra wideband thing that you can connect to and hook this on the back of this. And I don't know what's on the back of that, a bunch of HDMI things. You get a bunch of dongles hanging off the back of it. But then eventually you'll buy one of those with ultra wideband built in. And some of that stuff can change. But that stuff takes a long time. Yeah. It just takes a long time. Less and less nowadays, but 5 years at best before we see it, like before you expect to go buy stuff
in the market. Yeah,
you go to Best Buy and just buy some stuff with ultra wideband in it.
So what spurred the article was that you found a device with, or is it just that they're saying testing? It's coming? Okay.
Yeah, they're just working on it in a couple devices, testing it and figuring out how to get it to work and making sure that just the OS on an operational level has it. So,
but from a hardware perspective, you're not tracking anything.
No, I don't think there were any devices.
Got it in right now.
Yeah, they're adding attributes basically.
Until we have more and more devices, more phones, more everything that has this stuff, it's gonna that's gonna limit it. That's gonna limit it automatically right there. Yeah. So
because like the Pixel Watch 2 was rumored to have ultra wideband coming to it, and that's one of those things when I saw it, I was like,
yeah, cool.
Yeah, I don't know.
Moving on.
Because I'm like, does that mean like 5G? Does not mean 5G. It means, to be able to hook to your phone easier, to be able to hook to, cars are starting to get ultra wideband. So vehicles. So for your key, instead of relying on Bluetooth, which can be hit or miss sometimes, I will say on my Galaxy S23 and the Tesla, it has been rock solid. But for a couple different Pixel devices I've tried, it has not been great. The Pixel 7a was good. But the Fold and the Pixel 7 and 7 Pro be great sometimes, and then it just would not connect. Like let me in the car, and I'd have to hold it up so I could use the NFC part of it, to get connected. Ultra wideband solves that, makes it much easier. Because a couple things, the bandwidth's better, the connectivity's better, but also the positional tracking is better. So the car knows exactly where that key is, and so it's not even questioning like, is it close enough or is it not close enough? I'm not really sure. Like, it knows exactly where both devices know where they are.
Down to the centimeter, yeah.
And so, like, for those kind of applications, that seems like a no-brainer. But until you have cars with it, there's no point in having phones with it or watches with it. And so it just takes a while. Like
Yeah.
you got these alliances around these things have to convince hardware makers like it's worth it, do it, it's going to be awesome. And then the first few that do it are going, well, we did that and there's nothing to do. Like I think last year's iPhone and maybe the one before had ultra wideband, and it's like, what's it getting used for?
Yeah.
Probably just about nothing right now.
Yeah.
So it'll take time,
Yeah.
but eventually I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Really, really awesome.
Speaking of new Chromebooks, I don't even know if you mentioned Chromebooks. I was trying to think of a transition.
Yeah, we're talking about ultra wideband
Yeah.
on Chromebooks
On
specifically.
Chromebooks. Speaking of new Chromebooks, you have been using, I've seen it in there on your desk,
Yeah.
the 714. So let's give kind of a hot take preview of the review that we'll be doing very soon on that device.
Yeah.
I would
Might not be out till next week, probably.
Yeah, I hope next week it will be out. But
Yeah.
when you're listening to this, there's a chance it might be out. It might not. We'll link it if it is.
If it is, yeah. So if you messed with, saw, read about the Spin 714 last year, a lot of people, the headline for it was they kind of did away with the 713 line that people liked a lot for the last 3 years. Kind of changed it up and went with this. This is definitely they didn't make another 713, and I don't know that they're going to, unfortunately, because people love that device. The 513 is a great example of that form factor being great. Hope they refresh the 513 with a new MediaTek chip at some point down the road. But for right now, the 513 is the one that holds kind of that form factor, the 3x2, and the 714 is kind of this new thing. If you saw anything about the 714 from last year, including news that they're not going to make a 713 and this is the new thing, the new 714 isn't really changing any of that. It literally is the same chassis. I'm quite certain it's the exact same screen, which is not a problem. In the same keyframe, probably the same trackpad. It is a different color. It's the kind of the dark gray that Acer tends to use. I kind of like the navy. I know navy's kind of, everyone's doing that right now, but the 714 looked good in navy, but whatever. The exact same build quality. It's a nice firm aluminum, not the thinnest thing in the world, but it just feels good. Like pick it up, it's like, yeah, this is good. This is well built. No creaking, no moving, no bending. Backlit keys. They removed the stylus, the stowed stylus. They dropped $30 off the price. They still did not include a fingerprint scanner. 350-ish nit screen. They were listed at 340. They said they tested it internally higher. We tested it internally a little bit higher, 350, 360. Nice bright screen, 16 by 10, 14-inch display.
Screen
I love it. I like that
saucy.
size. I think it's great. I like 3x2 as well, but 16 by 10 makes me just as happy. Like it's got a little bit extra height to it, and it's nice. It still stays nice and compact. I think 3x2 screens sometimes make the whole device feel a little bit like long when you open it up.
Well, and you end up getting kind of bigger bezels on the bottom sometimes.
Yeah,
You're
'cause
still
it's
trying to fit in a keyboard and trackpad, right? So
yeah, it's, the 16 by 10 is a nice, and it's got really small bezels. Even on the bottom bezel's really small for a convertible device. Upward firing speakers that are mediocre. They're fine. And I think that's the same from last year, but it's got a quad HD webcam and some of Acer's temporal noise reduction, and like it exposes the shot nicely. Even in darker conditions, it does a good job. But you're getting some extra pixels there. I don't know what quad HD turns into in a pixel count. I know 2 megapixels is full HD, so I don't know, 2.5, 3 megapixels. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. It's a quad HD.
Call it 3.
Yeah, it's quad HD. It's got a little flippy thing over the camera. And it still works with USI pins. So if you have a USI pin, it's fine. It works with it. I don't know. I wish they would have kept the stowed stylus. It's just a fun added feature. Or I wish they would have said, no stylus, here's a fingerprint scanner. Like that would have been kind of cool.
Added in, swapped in something.
Because it feels like the type of device that should have one. Like it's just really refined and nice. But 13th gen Intel Core i5. It's one of the few 13th. I think there's one other 13th gen device. Maybe. But one of the few. And 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs storage, just like last year. Brought the price down to $699 to start, but it's been on sale like 3 times already. So it's down in the 500s range. And at that price,
Well,
silly sauce.
What was it on this last sale? $529, I think.
$569.
$569.
It's $30 or $130 off.
Right. Yep.
So so that's $569. We've seen it as low. I think they did 200 off of it at one point, so it's $499. Either one of those prices for this, I think $699 is fair. Is it's that kind of quality device. It's a great keyframe. It's super enjoyable to use. But just I really enjoy. I enjoyed last year's 714, and people dunked on it a little bit because of the, everyone liked the 713. They just did, and it's a weird thing for Acer to get rid of, but whatever. That's what they did. It's their prerogative. As long as they build a good Chromebook, I don't really care. And this one is. The last year's was as well. So this is going to be a little bit faster. 13th gen kind of keeps all the same processes, cores and stuff. It just clocks things up a little bit. So it's a little faster with a lot of the same internal stuff, and great keyboard, great trackpad, great screen, great build quality. Give me a fingerprint scanner, maybe better speakers, and it's like in contention for Chromebook of the year. Like, it's because of the price. Like, is the Dragonfly Pro better? Yeah, but it's a little more limited. The Pro doesn't have a convertible form factor. This one does. The Pro is, you can buy two of these for the price of the Pro, so that you have to factor that kind of thing in. So, I think the lack of a couple of those features sets it back a little bit, but it's fantastic. It is a great Chromebook. I was happy to get it in and start using it. It's just fun to use. It's a very enjoyable device.
Yeah. Does it have the little cut-ins on the side?
No, it's that boxy the newer
design.
Acer.
That's kind of more of this.
Yeah, this one's got the slide and the cuts.
Oh, okay.
You see
I thought when this one,
the wave, the Acer wave.
Acer wave.
It just makes it look. Oh, the front of this is so thin. It's a callback. You know who did that first?
No.
MacBook Air.
Ah.
So the MacBook Air did that whole swoopy side thing because it makes it look from up here. It makes the side look ultra thin. It's an optical illusion.
Yeah.
I prefer just make your device thin and box off the sides.
I prefer the kind of more industrial look.
And you look at Macs now that they are actually that thin. They did away with that kind of stuff because they don't need to slope them that much.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it probably doesn't help the structural integrity, and it just looks a little dated.
Yeah.
So I like that Acer's kind of boxing out some of those, and like their 516 is just big boxy, and I love that thing so much. I worked from it yesterday on the road.
Say you had it yesterday, and I was like, oh man.
Every time I mess with that device, I'm like, I love this Chromebook. I love it. It is my favorite.
It's a big boy, but it's not like
it's 3.7 pounds.
Yeah, but
it's
it
not
doesn't
heavy.
And it doesn't even, I don't know, like it doesn't look gaudy. Like
it doesn't look ridiculous.
It doesn't look like that Lenovo gaming thing you had. It doesn't have that look, but it's still that nice big screen.
It's wonderful.
We'll obviously get this review. We're going to get it captured today. We will have it out as soon as we can get it out.
Yeah, we'll say that.
So hopefully by the time you're listening to this, maybe it'll be out. If not, just check the website, chromeunbox.com.
I think Honey's going to break in.
Honey's out there knocking, so we need to go take care of the dog. We appreciate you all tuning in and listening and watching. If you are watching over on YouTube, make sure to give us a thumbs up, click subscribe, and click the notification bell.
Ding, ding.
If you do all three of those things,
you're our friend.
Robbie will
don't put me on the hook.
A Superman shirt next week.
I don't own a Superman shirt.
I don't know.
I'm a Batman guy.
I don't know how we're going to track this, but we're going to figure it out, folks. All right. That's it for this week. See you.